I want you to picture a crime scene, but not with, the yellow tape or the chalk outline.
No sirens flashing in the background.
None of that. I want you to picture a hospital bed, or maybe just a quiet bedroom. There's no weapon in the trash can outside. There's no forced entry. There isn't even a suspect.
Because to the naked eye, a crime hasn't even occurred.
Right. To the average person, I mean, even to the police or a coroner, what happened looks tragic, sure. But it looks natural, a sudden heart
A
attack.
freak accident.
Or maybe the person just gave up. It looks like bad luck.
The perfect crime.
Exactly. But what if it wasn't natural? What if it wasn't an accident? That is the terrifying premise we are unpacking today. We are diving into undetected, no face, no case Volgan, 2 fingerprints. Where? By Kandaya Ali.
And this one, it really challenges the fundamental way we look at death and misfortune.
It really does. I mean, Ali is arguing that there is this whole mechanism of spiritual assassination or energetic homicide happening right under our noses.
Energetic homicide, that's a heavy term.
It is. So the mission for this deep dive is to just, suspend our disbelief for a bit and explore this theory that there are forces and practices and maybe even technologies operating behind the veil of reality that can target a person and take them out.
While the rest of the world just shrugs and writes it off as life.
And the scariest part of her argument is that these aren't random acts.
No, not at all. They're precise, they're calculated, and they are completely invisible to forensic science. She basically asks, how do you catch a killer who uses energy instead of a gun?
So let's get into the who before we get into the how. Because the text suggests there's a very specific type of victim here. And honestly, the terminology threw me a bit. All he uses terms like empaths, healers, starseeds, and shiners.
Right.
Now, for anyone listening who isn't deep in the esoteric glossary, and for me to, can we break those down? When she says shiner, is she talking the shining? Like Stephen King?
It is actually a very similar concept. In this context, a shiner, or a starseed, refers to someone who has, let's say, a high degree of spiritual potency or light. Someone who naturally influences the environment around them just by being there. You know those people who walk into a room and the mood just lifts?
To people who have a high voltage, so to speak.
Exactly. High wattage humans.
Yeah.
Ali argues that these people are threats to what she calls parasitic systems.
What does she mean by that?
Think of it like a biological immune response. If you are a pathogen, a dark system feeding on misery or control, and a white blood cell, a healer, or a truth teller shows up, you want to eliminate it.
But you have to do it quietly. You can't make a martyr out of it.
Precisely. If you eliminate them openly, you create a symbol. But if they just fade away, if they get sick, if they lose their mind,
then the system remains secure and nobody asks any questions.
Exactly.
Okay, that is chilling. It's like a spy novel, but on a metaphysical level. So let's walk through the how. The author breaks this down into 6 distinct methods. I want to start with the first one. Energetic draining.
She calls it death by 1,000 invisible cuts.
Yeah, that phrase stuck with me. Because I think everyone has felt drained before. You hang out with that one friend who just complains for hours and you're just wiped. But this is different, isn't it?
It is. This isn't, I had a long week, tired. This is a targeted, systematic harvesting of a person's life force. Ali describes it as a combination of induced trauma, constant sleep disruption, just manufactured suffering.
So it's not just bad luck. It's like someone is siphoning gas out of your tank while you sleep.
That is a great analogy. Imagine leaving your car's headlights on every single night. Eventually, the battery dies.
Right.
But in the human body, a dead battery looks like medical failure. The immune system collapses, organs start to malfunction, chronic illnesses just pop up out of nowhere.
And that's the camouflage.
That's the camouflage. You go to a doctor, they see the kidney failure, they see the autoimmune flare-up, they treat the symptom, they don't see the extraction mechanism. Ali calls it death by extraction.
It's just so insidious because it's a slow fade. There's no smoking gun. It just looks like a tragedy.
Exactly. Which leads us right to the second method. And this is where the text moves from the physical to something psychologically terrifying, psycho-spiritual fragmentation.
This one really messed with my head. We're moving from draining the battery to literally breaking the machine.
Or, more accurately, evicting the driver from the car.
Explain that. Because fragmentation sounds kind of abstract, but the way she describes it is so visceral.
Ali argues that severe trauma-like deep betrayal or public shaming can cause the soul to fracture. It's a defense mechanism, normally. You disassociate to survive the pain.
Sure, that makes sense.
But if that fragmentation is pushed far enough, the text says the body forgets how to stay alive.
The body forgets to live. That's a wild concept.
Because the self that was holding it all together is gone. There is a quote in the book that really nails this. It says, "There is no one here to live for anymore."
Wow. No one here to live for. I mean, that sounds like depression, right?
It mimics it perfectly. But here's the crucial distinction Ali makes. We look at a suicide and we think, that person chose to leave. She suggests that in these specific cases, it is not suicide, it is energetic eviction.
So they were pushed out.
Pushed out. The soul was fractured and displaced so severely that the vessel just became empty. To the world, it looks like they gave up. To the author, it looks like they were forced out of their own home.
It completely reframes the whole idea of losing the battle with mental health. It suggests the battle was rigged from the start.
It suggests there was a siege, but the walls fell silently.
Okay, I need to pivot to the third method because this is where we get into fate versus interference.
Yeah.
Ritualistic death timelines. This one sounded like something out of a horror movie.
It essentially is. This connects to ancestry. Ali suggests some people are marked from birth. Maybe it's a generational curse, an agreement an ancestor made, or maybe interference from some kind of group. But the clock is ticking from day one.
And the fingerprint is the timing.
Yes. Ali points out that while the cause of death might look natural, the timing is often suspiciously symbolic. Does the death happen on a specific astrological alignment?
Or the anniversary of a great-grandfather's death. Something like that.
Exactly. Or on a specific solstice. She wrote, "The synchronicity is too sharp to ignore."
So if the death aligns perfectly with some dark ceremonial date, she's saying that's not coincidence. That's design.
It's like the universe's algorithm was hacked. Someone else set the alarm clock.
Which is a good segue, actually. Hacking.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk method 4, because so far we've been in this very ancient, ritualistic space.
Yeah.
But method 4 feels very modern, techno-esoteric manipulation.
This is where the theory bridges into the technological age. And this is where a lot of people might feel some resistance because it does sound a bit like science fiction.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I read this part, I was like, okay, are we getting into tinfoil hat territory here? She mentions scalar beams and ELF extremely low frequency interference.
It's a valid skepticism. But in the context of this theory, scalar waves are longitudinal waves. They can theoretically penetrate shielding. Ali claims that these technologies exist and can be tuned to the resonance of biological systems.
So you could use a frequency to disrupt the electrical rhythm of the heart or the brain.
That is the claim.
A remote-controlled heart attack.
Essentially. And again, think about the perfect crime. If you hit someone with a directed frequency that stops their heart, what does the coroner find?
A stopped heart.
They don't find a bullet, they don't find poison, they find a natural cardiac event. Ali calls it the ultimate clean weapon. It's filed as medical, but it was engineered.
That is terrifying because we're just bathed in frequencies all day long. The idea that this soup could be weaponized is, yeah, it makes you want to move to a cabin in the woods.
It definitely highlights how little we understand about the invisible environment we're in.
All right, well, if the tech stuff didn't scare you, method 5 will. Possession and soul swaps. This is straight-up invasion of the body snatchers.
It is, and it's one of the oldest concepts in esoteric history. But she talks about something called the walk-in.
Now, usually a walk-in is seen as a good thing in New Age circles, right? Like a spiritual upgrade. New soul, who dissed.
Often, yes. The story is usually that a new, higher soul comes in to take over the mission. But Ali is describing the malevolent version here, a hostile takeover.
So not a guest, but an intruder.
Exactly. An entity or a demonic presence pushes the original soul out and takes the wheel.
But the body is still walking around, going to work.
The body is intact, but the person you knew, they're effectively dead. Ali warns that only spiritual discernment reveals the swap. You might notice their eyes look different, flat or cold, or their personality shifts drastically overnight.
So it's a murder of the personality, not the biology.
Exactly, a death without a funeral. And the people around them are just left confused, thinking, he's just changed, not realizing he's gone.
Which leads to the final method, method 6. And this one feels the most tragic to me because it uses your own mind against you. Suicide via programming.
This is the spiritual sniper concept. Ali describes this as a long game. It isn't a sudden impulse. It's about decades of implanted beliefs.
Like the movie Inception. You plant an idea so deep someone thinks it's theirs.
Precisely. If you hear a voice in your head saying, you're a burden, or you'll never heal, or the world is better off without you, whose voice is that?
We usually assume it's our own our insecurity, our depression.
And that's the trap. Ali argues that in these targeted cases, those are implanted scripts, external programming running on your internal hardware.
That's a heavy thought, that self-hatred might not actually be self-hatred.
And the goal is to wear the soul down until the body just follows the script. The suicide is just the final act of a play written by someone else.
So we have this whole arsenal of invisible weapons. The big question is, why? Why go to all this trouble?
Right, the motive. Why target these specific people, these shiners?
Why not just ignore them?
Because, according to Ali, this is a war over the future. It's about timelines.
Talk to me about that.
The author believes certain souls carry the potential to activate specific futures. Maybe they're meant to start a movement, or heal a lineage, or invent something paradigm-shifting. Their light disrupts the parasitic system.
So it's strategic. It's not personal. It's tactical.
It's about taking a player off the board before they can even make their move. If you can take out the leader of a future timeline before they even step into their power, you secure the status quo.
It frames existence as this battlefield where the casualties aren't just bodies, but potentials, futures that never happen.
That is the gravity of it. It's about blocking the timeline where humanity wins.
Okay. I feel like we've been holding our breath for 15 minutes. This is really heavy stuff. But the book doesn't just leave us in the dark, does it?
No, and that's important. Ali shifts to defense. The last section is very practical. It's about how to make yourself a hard target.
So how do we bulletproof ourselves against invisible bullets?
The first step is what she calls return to self.
Which connects back to that fragmentation idea.
Right. If the attack is about scattering your energy, the defense is to pull it back in. Ali lists practices like cord cutting, actively visualizing cutting energy ties to people or situations that drain you.
It's energetic hygiene, like brushing your teeth, but for your soul.
Exactly. She also emphasizes ancestral work. If the attack is coming through a bloodline curse, a back door left open by an ancestor, you need to close it.
I really like the section on verbal defense, using your voice.
Words have immense power in this framework. Ali advises revoking vows of submission or silence or early death that you might have agreed to unconsciously.
Like literally saying out loud, I am untouchable.
Or I am sealed in divine sovereignty. It is about declaring this vessel, your body, your mind, as your territory. No trespassing allowed. You're not asking for safety, you are commanding it.
And she also mentions calling for backup.
Yeah.
Divine guardians. But she has a warning there.
Yes. She emphasizes discernment. Don't just open the door to the spirit world and ask for help. Call on spirits that are sovereign and loyal. Know who you are inviting in.
Check the ID at the door.
Always. Not everything that shines is light.
The text also includes these reflection prompts, which I thought were a great way to ground all this. It asks the reader to look at their own life for these fingerprints.
It moves the theory from abstract to personal. One prompt asks, where in my life have I seen patterns of invisible draining?
That's a powerful question.
Yeah.
We've all had those times where we feel exhausted for no reason. She's asking us to scrutinize that. Was it just a bad night's sleep, or was something feeding?
Another prompt asks about death contracts, which sounds ominous, but it's really about looking at family patterns. Do the men in your family always die at 50?
Is it genetics, or is it an energetic agreement?
Ali wants us to ask that question.
Yeah.
Because if it is an agreement, it can be broken.
Which I think brings us to the core message of the book. Despite all the horror we've discussed, the ultimate message is actually empowering.
It is. It's about reclaiming agency. Ali writes, not every silence is peace, not every absence is surrender. She wants the reader to wake up so they can fight back.
There's that line. Destiny hasn't given permission to fall.
That's the anchor. If you're listening to this, you are still here. The draining, the tech, the programming hasn't worked. You're still standing.
That's a hell of a reframing. The fact that you are facing resistance is proof of your power.
Exactly. If you weren't a threat to the darkness, it wouldn't be working so hard to dim you.
So what's the takeaway here? For the listener driving to work right now, who hopefully isn't being targeted by a scalar beam, what do they do with this?
I think it's about awareness. You don't have to believe every single claim in this book to see the value in the metaphor. We live in a world that extracts from us constantly.
It forces you to stop being a passenger in your own body and start being the security guard.
The guardian, yes. Check your internal weather. Is the storm mine, or was it sent here? And if it was sent,
Send it back to sender. I like that.
stay sovereign.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with a final thought. We've talked a lot about the perfect crime, about how scary it is that these forces might want to snuff out your light.
Yeah.
But let's flip the script. If the author is right, and there are these elaborate multidimensional systems set up just to take you out, that implies that your light is incredibly dangerous.
It implies that a single awakened human is a massive problem for the status quo.
So here's the question. If destiny hasn't given you permission to fall, what specific light is inside you that is so terrifying to the darkness that it wants you gone? And if you knew what that was, wouldn't you fight a little harder to keep it?
That's a beautiful thought. The resistance is a compliment.
Take that with you. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until next time.